Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Jacksonville's Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee. I'd like to welcome everybody on this chilly evening. I hope everybody had a moment to look over the agenda. And if I can get a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion, approval? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then the approval of the minutes for this evening, or for our last meeting, which was way back when, November 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Thanks for the movement. Our director's report. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. That was pretty quick. You did good. We keep things moving.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a whole lot tonight, but I did want to bring you a couple of updates. One is, obviously we haven't seen each other since the holidays have ended, but we did finish getting down the Christmas decorations this week. So, you know, that's quite a chore. If you were wondering, we had over 263 light pole ornaments up, and hopefully you had a chance to go by Riverwalk Park, as well as we added a little touch this year and put some lights out on the what we refer to as the interchange on Highway 17. So if you saw that, hopefully you liked it. Northeast Creek Park, the shelter on the playground side. We talked about this, I believe, at our last meeting, and how they were going to begin doing some renovations to it on January 2nd or 3rd, and that has started. There's roofing that's been put up, and I know they're putting some board up around the building. I believe they've gutted the women's bathroom, and they'll work on obviously finishing that up in the men in the next couple of weeks. The big challenge out there now, although at last report, which was Friday, they're still on schedule to finish early in February, is they've got to run another source of power. I think we need a little more power for that building to run, because we are changing the lights out to LED under the sheltered area. So hopefully, definitely by the time we meet again, that shelter will be up and running, but hopefully for the public in the next 2, potentially 3 weeks, weather permitting, we'll see that shelter come back online with a different look to it that hopefully meets a better standard, and a standard that's more in line with what we see on that side of Northeast Creek Park. And one of the other things I wanted to share with you, we had a couple of Eagle Scouts come to us in August. Or let me back up and say that differently. They weren't Eagle Scouts, they were potential Eagle Scouts. And they came to us from one of their areas, and usually you have to do a project. And one of them came, and we sat down with them, and we worked through that process, and we came up with a project form that met the Scouts' criteria. And no sooner did we start doing that with him, and the second one came, and we came up with a program for him. And if you're at Richard Ray Park, some of the decking boards you'll see over there have been redone, and that was the Eagle Scouts project. As well as if you're out at Northeast Creek, the restroom or the shelter facility out there has been painted. And you know, that's pretty cool to have. You know, that's a win-win. Obviously, the city benefits from somebody coming in and doing that, and obviously we're able to help somebody take a next step and something that's near and dear to them. So kind of neat to go through that process. We've had that done before. I'm sure we'll have it done, things like that done again, so that's exciting. And last but not least, if you're not aware, this is what we are in the middle of our budget season. So we have been working as a staff to craft our operational budget for next year, as well as our capital improvements, as well as anything above and beyond our operating budget that we would think we would need to help us continue to do our jobs, or maybe even take another step moving forward. So just be aware of those things, okay? And that's short report, but that's pretty much where we're at and what we're doing right now. And it's cold.
All right, my turn. So I have a few things to give you an update. I'll do some housekeeping items. From my side of the house, we are busy with finishing up some stuff and getting ready for our spring season. We have quite a few things on the horizon. I'll just go in order. This Friday is the 26th of January, and we are actually having a snow day. So we're taking our snowmaking equipment and we'll be producing some snow for the kids. And we're doing that at the Richard Ray Amphitheater. And so we're excited. It's going to be open, free to the public. The idea is just kind of have it a free-flowing event that the kids can just come and sled. Weather's scheduled to be 70-something.
All these cold days.
So here we are, you know. Newton's Law is in full force for me. Hopefully it'll still hold out for us as long as possible. We also have our spring sports registration opening next Monday. So for all of the volleyball, baseball, softball, spring sports kids out there, registration starts on Monday, the 29th. Month of February is African American History Month, and we do have an event that we're excited about. We've had it every year, but this year is special to us because it's our 20th anniversary of our African American Read-In event. It is going to be on February the 11th. We are moving it from council chambers because we actually have outgrown that space. We're kind of standing room only, and we're going to move it to Jack Emiette and utilize the gym there. Obviously, with it being a new gym, it was equipped for some much better sound capabilities as well as you know, just the equipment that we have in there. So we're kind of excited we're going to be able to utilize that space for something a little bit differently. But Jack Emiette has been busy along with all of our other facilities with basketball season. We'll be closing that out at the end of February and gearing up for our spring season sports. So I will go ahead. I'm going to jump around a little bit on you. I'm going to jump into what we have listed here, and that is our Jacksonville Youth/Teen Center. So if you don't know, we do have a youth center across the street on New Bridge Street, and it is something that's been in the city's facilities ownership for several years. It came to the recreation department several years ago, and we've kind of been operating it, but we really want to be able to elevate that facility and make it a true teen center. There was a bid process. We did apply just like other entities, and I was just proud to say that our department got the bid, and that the folks that voted on it felt that we were going to be in a good position to elevate and provide a true teen center. So what we have coming up, in addition to getting some feedback from a survey from teens, is an input session. So we're having that actually this Thursday at 5:30 in this room, and the goal on that is to invite teens to come out, to participate, give us their feedback. What we're trying to do with that facility is to make it a very teen-friendly space, to include a cafe, an internet lounge, an arcade, entertainment space with the stage in there. So we are going to be revamping that and making some building improvements as well. So stay tuned. It's an exciting project. We are hoping to open that facility up on spring break for the kids. That's the last week in March, if I'm not mistaken, like March 25th, 26th, that week. So we're excited that we're going to be opening and operating that to really give the teens in our community a nice place to go and a fun place, a safe space, but make it theirs. So we want their input. So anybody watching, or if you know anybody, we certainly want to hear from them. We do have a survey out there, and we will be having the input meeting on Thursday. So, all right, shifting gears now into some of the big department, and then Michael certainly can fill in anywhere I've missed off. As you know, we've been working on two things consecutively with our consultants, McAdams, and one of them is our comprehensive master plan. This has been something that's been in the works. I know Mr. Ross read all the survey results. Everybody got a book last time we met. If you read it, thank you. If you didn't, it's okay. I'm not going to quiz you on it, but we did get some really good feedback on it. It was valid, statistically valid information that I think is definitely guiding what we're going to do in our system. The plan is basically in its first round draft. Me and Michael haven't seen the full draft, but we've had several meetings with a consultant and we're firming up some of those, shall I say, sections. And so we are hopeful to have a more firmer draft, or I'll say the first version of that master plan ready to present either to our management and then to city council within the month of, I'm gonna say, March. The idea is that we would have that done first and approved so that it will lead into that conversation into the 400 acres and what that complex and that property is going to look like. Obviously, we did this purposefully so that we know what we're doing in one space before we commit what we're doing in another space. So we want to make sure that everybody understands we're not going to duplicate, you know, whether it's a CIP project or whether it's services being delivered to our citizens, that we're cognizant that if it's within the city's umbrella and, you know, under our auspices, then it's being addressed either in one or the other, but not both. Does that make sense? So in other words, we're not going to recommend, let's just say, rectangular fields necessarily. Does the community need rectangular fields? Yes. Do we need an indoor facility? Yes. But we're also cognizant that our master plan is going to say one or the other, but the other one's going to also say one or the other, so that we're making sure that they complement each other. Does that
makes sense?
Make sense? I'm making sure I articulated that well. So that leads us to the 400 acres, coming to a very nice point in the design and concepts. I think we will have something to present to council also in that March timeframe is our goal. We've been to some really nice facilities as a team to go look and tour. So it gives us a really good hands-on, direct experience on what is out in the area and what is being utilized. So for example, we went to Myrtle Beach a couple of weeks ago. They have huge complex. They have an indoor complex that is volleyball, basketball. It had a tournament that's scheduled for that weekend for 256 volleyball teams. It was impressive, but you know, you get to talk to those operators, learn from them, and be able to utilize that experience to say what doesn't work for them, might not work for us, and then just kind of use that. But we toured several facilities in the Myrtle Beach area, just again for our own edification, but also we had our architects on board for that tour, and so that they were able to hear firsthand from those operators what does work, what doesn't work, and then that way we can utilize that in what we're going to design. So they took all of that information, and we had another meeting actually before this one along the same lines with our consultants. So extremely productive, well worth the time to go to those places. And I just think it really adds value when you can look at a complex and hear from those folks on, you know, how they manage and maybe some building or design advice they might give, which is what we got. So really, really helpful. But you all will certainly hear about the master plan in our March. Hopefully I'll have a version of it. If nothing else, I'll email you if we get like a first round version of it to get your feedback. Yeah, and then we'll go from there. But I would expect the next couple of months to get some more information, but the month of March is probably going to be pretty busy when it comes to those two large events. We're trying to make it so that they complement each other, and we give due diligence as far as that conversation with council goes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mike? Move back to him. I do. Do we have any damage, I guess, for both of you, this little storm that we had a couple weeks ago? Because I didn't see any of the two parks that I had.
No, we did. We had one tree come down on a trail. That probably would have happened anyway, but the wind, you know, we did have some significant wind, and, you know, luckily we were able to get that out and taken care of pretty much the next day, but no other damage other than that.
Okay, and then I guess for both of you, Offspring Baseball, we getting ready, geared up for them to come through?
Absolutely.
I noticed
It's funny, we were just talking about that. Their first home game, again, is June 1st this year. And they start the season the last week of May, but I believe they start on the road. Their first home game is June 1st, based off the schedule we've received. So yeah, we're excited.
Do we know how many, I guess, clubs that were going to play there originally? How many were going to miss out, or they shuffled them?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but what I can tell you is I believe there are now 18 teams in the league.
Well, I'm talking about on the rec side. Any teams that would normally play there?
The conflict.
Yeah.
We're working it out. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. We have Kerr Street ball field that we've played in the past, like when we get work done to that field. So our Carolina Men's League, if there's games on Sundays, they typically play on Sundays. So Ospreys don't have any games on Sundays from what we can tell. So I think it'll work out really well. Actually, I think we'll be in good shape. We'll be able to make it work.
Okay, awesome. And then the last thing I have is the kayak rentals. How'd they end up going last year?
Well, we haven't had kayak rentals, and we
Okay.
just got the kiosk machines. So they're installed, they're at 3 locations. We put actually a post out, the city of Jacksonville put a post out today because it's gonna be nice this week. So hopefully people saw that and they'll go kayaking. But from what I can tell, people are enjoying the ease of and the convenience of renting those kayaks and taking them out and putting them back in. So far so good.
Thank you. Any questions for Susan?
What was the time for the snow day? Is it like all day or?
I think it's like 5 or 5:30 is that Friday night.
Okay.
And the reading.
The read-in is at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. Good questions.
I have one for Mike.
Yes, sir.
The restrooms are shut down due to freezing weather. How does that work? When do you expect them open? When do you expect to close them?
I would probably tell you Wednesday they'll open. They may even open tomorrow afternoon after we look at the weather. It looks like tomorrow, once it gets up to 50, I'm using that as just a number. It looks like the next couple of days are going to be warm. And the reason we do, that's a great point. We don't shut all the bathrooms off. Some of them, when they were built, we were able to insulate the the lines. Some of them don't have that insulation, and obviously if we don't do that, we'll get water breaks in the lines, which creates massive problem. So our best move is to shut them off. So I would expect them to be back on tomorrow. And hopefully you must have saw that on one of our posts, and that's what we try and do is keep the public informed that way. Yeah, great question.
Anybody else? All right, Mr. Homer, looks like you're up.
We didn't have a meeting in January because we didn't have any business. In December, we met and decided on a rezoning request from residential single family, which is an old designation from years and years ago, to residential multifamily. This was at the intersection of Trade Street and Jacksonville Parkway, which, if you're familiar, is sort of near the Jaggers, that area, more behind the hotel. And then we also did another rezoning request for from low density residential to corridor commercial, and that would be at 107 Richlands Avenue, which is actually behind the on Lejeune Boulevard. I'm sorry, on Marine Boulevard, the Pizza Hut. Next to that is a 4x4. Behind that building is the property they're talking about. And the last is I don't know how this is going to work out, but it was a rezoning request from single family RS20, which is more or less farmland, to commercial corridor and residential multifamily. And it was at the corner of Drummer, Kellum Road and Ramsey Road. So you can imagine that might create, you don't know what kind of traffic impacts, but right now it's just a request for rezoning. Right. So I'm not really worried about that yet, but we'll probably have to keep an eye on it. And that neck of the woods is where we were projected to dump all the traffic whenever we got this road finished. Hey, those of us who've been through Piney Green Road know that it'll take a while for some things.
And that first item that you said, that's somewhere where the Moose Lodge used to be? Is that
it's
the
more
airport?
Yeah, it's sort of that area, but it's actually, if you look at the map, it's more behind that hotel.
Okay.
There's a home to suite, not a home to suite. It's sort of like a motel behind the McDonald's.
Okay.
Next to McDonald's, back there, there's a little plot of land.
As much on the Parkway side as it is.
It stretches from the hotel to
There's a
behind
sign
Lowe's.
out there
Okay.
now that says rezoning.
Oh, okay.
It's, what happened is all that area was residential because it was the back of Sherwood Forest. And then the parkway sort of just cut it in half. And so you've got all the stuff on the Sherwood Forest side of the parkway that's residential. Well, that makes sense. But then you've got that stuff on the other side, the business side of the parkway, that doesn't make sense to be residential, so.
Any questions for the advisory board member? All right, moving on to our parks and member comments. Steve?
The cold weather reduced the amount of activity in the park, but believe it or not, there were still people out there playing disc golf and kids at the playground. Not the big numbers that usually you see, but
I'm sure you'll see that pick up in the next couple of days.
oh, yeah. But they were still out there. I was amazed, so good for them. Park looked great, considering, the weather and all that other kind of stuff. The bathroom remodeling project, so the roof took 2 days. First day, they stripped it all off. Second day, it was up. I mean, it was that quick. And then they put new fascia boards on and they put soffits in, but they're not quite finished. There's about that much left to go. And then they put a bunch of furring strips on to put the concrete siding on. So that's just kind of sitting there waiting for something else to happen. And today there was a lot of activity. They were out there with jackhammers and concrete saws and excavators, and there's a lot of activity. There are big old dump trucks out there. So I walked over to look and it was like, wow. I mean, the bathrooms are gutted, both of them. Big old trenches dug out, so they're getting ready to do something major with the plumbing and the electricity. I mean, they took out this slab that was 10 inches, and then around the edge, it was 14 inches. In one giant piece, it was like, holy smokes. They had a time getting that into the dump truck, so.
Are you bringing them a cup of coffee, just sitting there watching, or what?
No, I was kind of curious what was going on with all the heavy equipment.
That's great. That just goes in line with what I was saying earlier is that means they're moving good now.
And there was, one of the city engineers was there, and I was like looking at all that stuff, and he says, yep, we're gonna be done by February 3rd. And I'm like, well, good luck with that.
Sound like a project manager.
Yeah.
Because looking at it, it's like there's a lot of stuff to get done in a little bit of time, so. Because that's like the end of next week. And I hadn't seen any electrical wires run, so I think they're waiting on other trades to get all that stuff done. So good luck to them, but the park looks good.
All right, Scott?
For Wilson Bay, look good. Surprisingly, still plenty of activity there in the cold weather. I was there today. There was probably about 15 vehicles parked there. Only 3 people actually out and about, but everybody just there enjoying the scenery during their lunch break. So.
Did you notice the fence we've installed on the left side?
Yep. I was going to ask you, the boardwalk there that runs parallel to the river, is there a planned maintenance of that? Everything looks a little old and some of it's a little loose. You can see where they've replaced individual boards, but there's nothing unsafe there.
No, there isn't. You're right. We've had the foundation over there looked at, and I think in a perfect world, our CIP for Wilson Bay would include that whole bulkhead being replaced, that gazebo, the whole 9 yards. That's in our long-term plans. But yes, in the short term, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and you'll keep seeing what you're seeing over there. But yes, definitely long-term plans.
That fishing gazebo is great.
Yeah.
I tried my hand out there, unsuccessful,
It's all right.
but I gave it a shot a few times. For the woodland parks, again, everything looks good. Don't expect anybody to be using the volleyball court anytime soon, but that would need to be cleaned up from the storm. There's a picnic table in the parking lot right in front of where the little swing gate is to enter onto the fields. I don't know if that's intentional. It just looks odd.
Is it inside the fence or outside the fence?
It's outside. It's in the parking lot.
Okay. We'll look at it tomorrow.
That is all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
The commons, the area is immaculate, well manicured, well groomed, lots of activity, even as Mr. Hinkle said, with the weather being the way it is, will you be able to put some new nets on the basketball goals?
Absolutely. If they're in need of them, you bet.
As usual, outdoor soccer on the old skateboard park and on the tennis court. Phillips Park, when I went out there, a few citizens asked the question, will something be done with Phillips Park? They compared it to all the other parks, and I tried to paraphrase what you said.
Right.
Landfill. And that's, you know.
Well, and I think the good news is, if you remember, and I think you do, is last meeting we talked about how we had taken a step that we've never taken before in getting that area to start to move forward, to be able to potentially down the road do some things out there, to dig. Let's be honest, that's really what we're talking about.
Right.
We're not able to dig out there, and now that's not going to happen overnight, but the fact that we've taken a step, that's a big deal. I truly think it is. So yeah.
And a few of them, because soccer is practice out there,
Right.
a few of them asked about what is the potential of having artificial turf put out there
That'd be awesome.
for soccer. I'm sorry.
I'll just answer that. That would be awesome.
Of course, it's swampy out there after all this rain.
Sure.
No mention of French ditches this time, okay?
So I'm not sure when you went to Phillips, and if you happen to go by there anytime moving forward, we're in the process, and this is trying to be efficient in who we are and what we're doing, okay? So Phillips Park is a gravel parking lot. And
I saw the.
when we expanded at our parks building, I couldn't afford to put asphalt down in this large area that we had. And, gravel's great, but, what you don't want is the mud holes, especially some of the trucks that we have with trailers. That's just not a good situation either. So we came up with what we felt like was a cost-effective way to create a solid surface and not create or create something that would allow us to use that area and not get stuck anywhere. And what we were able to do is take millings from roads that are being torn apart, recycle them, spread them, and then use a roller to roll them. And at our building, it's worked out wonderful. Now, we're doing that at Phillips Park. We've also done it at some of our parking lots, at some of our satellite sites, but Phillips Park is what I consider the public drives there, So just bear in mind that it is winter, it is cold, asphalt doesn't move very well when in these temperatures. As time goes by and it gets warmer and wet and the heat hits it, we'll continue to roll that parking lot and it'll become flatter and flatter and flatter. So just be aware of that. But I thought it was, for those of us who've known Phillips Park for a long time, that gravel parking lot's been here for forever. And this will probably be the best shape that parking lot's been in. And
That was one of the first things I noticed.
yeah, in years. It's a pretty, and look, and when I say cost effective, the millings cost me nothing. I mean, so for us to create that was just the labor, for us to do that. That's massive. That's a massive savings. Because I would say it's probably, I'm guessing here, at least $200,000 to asphalt that parking lot. At least that. Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh, you're fine.
share that with you.
Rails to trails, there's no issues or concerns. It's always clear and clean. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Bill?
Wooten Park looked fine. Water was on. Checked the fountain outside, and restrooms were clean. I saw where you removed one of those little toy springs toys, so we got that taken care of. So that was good. slide, ropes thing you climb on, everything was fine. Looked
Awesome.
good, very neat,
Thank you.
everything.
Mr. Spring?
Branchwood was fine. There were no concerns there. I didn't walk all the way out there because it was cold. There was nobody there. Sherwood Forest, it was a little warmer the day I went, and you had, again, you have a lot of people that will use it as a dog park, which is fine because that area is sort of away from everything else. Is actually the end of it, where they use it is pretty close to the playground, but not that many kids use that playground part. But it does look nice with the new surface on the bottom, so it's good for those residents. Does what it's supposed to do.
Then myself, Richard Ray, and Jack and me, both look great. No activity, very little whenever I was going by. It's a little bit too cold to throw balls right now. I did see the boards that you were talking about were replaced. I didn't know this, an Eagle Scout did that. So. All right, anybody have anything else before we go to one city moment? All right, one city moment.
All right, well, on our last meeting was right after Thanksgiving. So then the following week we had Winterfest. So these are just a few pictures. We had a great turnout. The weather cooperated for the most part, but it didn't look like it wanted to, but ultimately it did. So this is what we'll be doing on Friday. So hopefully that lady will come back and enjoy it. I don't know. But I got to give a shout out to the parks crew. Those guys do a phenomenal job. It's a lot of work to get that ice chipped up and sprayed and situated so that we can effectively run people down these sleds. So it is really, it is a all hands on deck sort of activity, but we appreciate the work that they do. And we had a snow area. Kids enjoyed that. Mrs. Claus, this is leading up to, well, this is one of the activities. At the end of the night, we'll be showing you the tree lighting ceremony. But again, it was a good day. It was a great event. It was well attended. Parks guys do a great job. They run our hayride for us, and it's just a good day. There we go. Some more fun. Arts and crafts on one of the quads. There we go. It's neat. We have Santa come in. This group, Iron Order, makes a large donation for our events, and well, not for our events, but they do a large donation for Onslow Ministries, and they bring in Santa at the end. But it's just a really neat because it's so loud, and everybody loves to hear all those motorcycles come down Newbridge Street, and then they loop around the park, and then to have Santa come off. It's just kind of fun. It's just a new element, and they're a good group of folks to work with. So, and there's the man himself. Some more fun, happy faces. We have a candy shop at Kerr Street Rec Center. They were hustling. They sold lots of popcorn, lots of hot chocolate, great egg decorations. The park looked phenomenal. And we do concurrently have the artisan market at the Commons. So they had a really great weekend. We run a shuttle between the two, but it was a successful week for them, and it was a great partnership for us as well that we're able to do something, you know, on both ends, outdoors and indoors. But if you've never been, these are all artisans that hand make everything that you see here. So nothing is purchased en masse from China and then resold. These are items that people make and do a great job. And then this is our tree lighting ceremony. So that is Council Member Logan Sosa and his son up there helped us with the tree lighting, and the tree looked phenomenal. Of course, the parks guys again did a great job with getting that thing strung up with lights and decorated. Not just that, but the whole area really is a showpiece and a showstopper for all of our community to go enjoy for the whole month of December. So it was a great event, and we look forward to next year. It'll be here before you know it.
Yes, it will.
Any questions on that? We appreciate y'all's support, and certainly anything we can do to answer anything before we close out. But
I don't see any new lawnmowers for the parks folks underneath the Christmas tree.
I keep looking too.
All right.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, anybody have any other items? All right, our next meeting is going to be March 25th, great day, 2024 at 6 p.m. Hope to see everybody there. Stay safe, stay warm. Can I get a motion to close out?
Motion adjourned. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's get going. Thank you, everybody. Have a good